Hey everyone. In this tutorial, we'll dive into designing a captivating website header in Spline, featuring a 3D DNA model with animated particle effects. This step-by-step guide covers everything from setting up the 3D model and creating unique materials to adding particles that move dynamically around the 3D model structure. If you're ready, let's jump into Spline and start creating. Let's start by importing our 3D model. You can use any model you'd like, but the key is to ensure your model is a single object. If your model has multiple parts, you'll need a unique particle emitter for each. Before working on materials, let's make a few setup adjustments. First, turn off the grid plane and change the background color to black. Now select the DNA 3D model and begin creating its material. Start by changing the color layer to a gradient, selecting a smooth transition from a bluish to purplish color. Adjust the gradient angle to around 90 degrees and set the blending type to smooth. Next, add a new layer, select Rainbow, set the RGB values to 1, and change the frequency to about 17. Set this layer's blending mode to Overlay. For the final layer, add a matte cap. Select the first texture and set the blending mode to Screen. This completes the material setup for our DNA model, though you're welcome to customize the layers and colors to your preference. Now let's add particles. If you're unfamiliar with how particles work, I recommend watching our introductory particle video first, where we explain all the particle settings in detail. Go to the toolbar, select Particle Emitter, and in the Properties, set the emitter shape to Custom Object. Then choose the DNA model. Adjust some settings. Set the particle size to 10, increase the birth rate to 1000, and extend the particle lifetime to 5 seconds. Set the speed to 5 and set gravity to 0. In the particle noise section, increase the scale by 5 and add some variation. Now you'll see particles moving around the DNA model. To add even more randomness, increase the scale, rotation, and mass for a more varied movement. In the color section, choose any color you like, then set the color type to random mode. This allows both colors to appear in the scene instead of transitioning from color A to color B. That's how I set up particles for the DNA model. You can duplicate this particle emitter to add extra randomness. For example, in the second particle emitter, try changing the color, increasing the size, lowering the rate, and adding speed variation. You could also adjust the particle noise seed and add scale randomness for a distinct effect. Switch to play mode to see the particles emitting smoothly. Next, let's return to the DNA model. Notice the pivot point of the parent group isn't centered, which causes rotation issues. To fix this, hold Alt, click on the DNA group, and move the pivot to the center. Now the model will rotate correctly from its center. Since we want the particle emitters to rotate with the DNA model, let's move them into the group. Now let's create a state for the object, add an event, and create a transition. Set the duration to about 20 seconds, choose a linear curve, and set it to loop infinitely. Now, in play mode, both the particles and the DNA model rotate together. It appears we forgot to add the rotation to our model, so let's go back and fix that. Now it should work perfectly. With the DNA model ready, it's time to position our camera and complete the scene setup. First, switch to perspective mode. Go to the frame section, set the frame to full HD, create a camera, and adjust the field of view to around 15. Then rotate the DNA model to a diagonal position. If we switch to play mode, the 3D model should now resemble the finished project. Now let's add UI elements, starting with text. Click on the text tool, place it in the scene, and enter your text. Adjust the size and settings. In the materials section, disable the color layer since we don't need shading for this object, and increase the text brightness. With the first line of text ready, duplicate it, move it down, and enter the second line of text, adjusting the size as needed. Next, we'll create a call to action button. Add a rectangle, resize it, and round the corners in the shape properties. In the materials section, disable the lighting layer, add a new layer, set it to outline, change the outline color to white, and set the fill color to red. For the button text, create another text, write your message, and adjust the size. As before, disable lighting and increase brightness. If you'd like the button to open a link, follow this method. First, make the text a child of the button. Then create a mouse down event. Select Open Link and paste in the URL. Now, clicking the button will open the link. Finally, let's create the header. Duplicate the text, move it up, and adjust the sizes as needed. Duplicate this text again for additional header parts. Now our UI is ready. To enhance the scene, consider adding post-processing effects like bloom. Finally, we need to adjust a few settings in play mode. First, turn off orbit, pan, and zoom. For a more dynamic effect, enable the hover effect and choose pan camera with a sensitivity of about 8. Now, in play mode, the camera will subtly move with mouse movement. The last step is to group all UI elements and make them a child of the camera. This way, the UI stays fixed when adjusting the camera position. And that's it for today's tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please comment, like, and share. And if you have any recommendations for future tutorials, don't hesitate to share. Thanks for watching, and take care.